Hey guys, and welcome back. Happy 4th of July. Today is July 4th, 2021. And on today's video, I'm going to show you how to do a transmission fluid exchange on the 2006 Toyota Tundra. This uses the A450E transmission. I'm also going to be installing a magnifying inline filter, and I'll show you how to do that a little bit later. We're going to be going back with some Toyota factory parts, the the transmission strainer, and of course we've got our drain plug, washers, and gasket. And let's just get started. All right, so the absolute very first thing that you need to do before you do anything else is you need to make sure that you can remove the filler plug. Now on this model of transmission, it's in the tail shaft. Some of them, they're up on the side of the transmission. This one is very easy to get to, and it's a 24mm socket. Okay, there's a rubber O-ring on here. There is not a crush washer. So once we are sure that we can remove that, we'll just put that back hand tight. All right, next you want to take a 14mm socket, and we're going to drain the fluid from the bolt here. This bolt right here is a 5mm hex, and that's the check plug. So we'll drain it now. All right, so we are probably about 10 minutes later, and that's good enough. Make sure that you use a new crush washer, and make sure these crush washers right here have a very flat side and kind of a smaller conical side. Make sure the flat side goes to the face of the bolt. And this gets torqued to 15 foot-pounds. Okay, there we go. So we'll not need to take this off again. All right, so the next thing we need to do is remove the pan bolts. All right, so you're gonna need a 10mm socket to remove these. I just wanna see how tight these are. The torque on this is only like yeah, they're almost nothing. Torque is like 3.5 foot-pounds or so. Okay. Okay. There we go. Perfect. All right, so we got a little more than 4 quarts out. Before I dump this, let me remove this gasket. And we'll dump this in here to add to the So about 5 quarts came out, which is quite a bit. A little more than 5 quarts. All right, so what I'm doing is I'm removing, there's 4 magnets in the bottom of the pan, and that just helps pick up any of the iron filings. Mostly that comes from, I think there may be a little bit in the clutch material, but probably the torque converter. And I'm just wiping them off with a paper towel, setting them aside. They're not bad at all. In fact, the fluid in the pan, or the fluid coming out, looked really good. I do know that in the past, at one point, this transmission was serviced, but I'm sure this is just the regular It was done at the Toyota dealer, so they just put the regular Toyota WS in there. All right, so the next thing to do is clean the bottom of the pan mating surface off. I've already installed the filter and torqued it down to 7 foot-pounds. So I'm just going to take some, you can use alcohol, you can use, I like to use starting fluid because it evaporates really fast. And I'll show y'all what I did in a minute. This is the hardest part right here, is trying to get this past this. There we go. There we go. So basically I just took some tape and stuck the bolt head through there. All I did, just did it in 4 places just so it would hold the gasket. All right, so I am going to not show this part. I'm just going to go ahead and put all the bolts back in, and this gets torqued to 39 inch-pounds. All right, so I've got the pan back on and got it torqued to 39 inch-pounds. And what we need to do is we're going to have to put in 5 quarts of transmission fluid. And because of the way that the filler plug is located on the transmission, it will be a little bit difficult unless you use the hose method, which I'm going to do. And we also need to identify which is the return line back to the transmission. So the way that this flow goes, it comes out of the transmission, it goes into the the radiator cooler inside the radiator, comes out of the radiator, goes into the auxiliary transmission cooler, because this has the towing package, and goes out of the auxiliary cooler back to the transmission. So if you want to figure out which hose is the final hose going back to the transmission, you just need to look and see which of the 2 hoses, there's a top and a bottom one, is coming out from the cooler, and it is going to be this one right here. This is the top metal line. If you look on the transmission, there's a top and a bottom, and this is the one that we need to disconnect. So I'm going to remove this splash shield under here so you guys can see a little bit better. And this is where we will be installing the magnifying transmission filter. So what I'll do first is we're going to, let me remove the skid plate, and then I'll show you what we're doing after that. All right, so here's how I'm going to fill up the transmission. I've got a piece of vinyl tubing. I just got it Lowe's. This is 1/2 inch inside diameter. I've got a funnel. I just zip tied it here. So I've got a straight shot down and up under. And I've got it just zip tied right here loosely so it's not touching the catalytic converter. And then I just put that in the fill hole right there. Put it all the way to the bottoms and then just pull it out just a little bit. So that'll give me a really good downhill run to fill this up. Now if you have a pump and want to pump 5 quarts in there, but I really don't, I'd rather just pour it in there. All right, so I'll let you guys see how this is going to work. You could route it through the engine compartment if you wanted to, but I figured this would be a little easier. All right, 1 quart down and 4 more to go. All right, so at this point, here's what I've done. I disconnected the hose, the rubber hose that goes back to the transmission, and I put a piece of 3/8 inch clear tubing with a brass union in there. And what's going to happen is when I start the vehicle, I've put, our goal is to get 5 quarts back out. So here goes. Okay, so it's coming out slowly. So it's taking all the fluid that's in the pan and pumping it out. All right, so we're getting some air in there, so I'm going to go ahead and shut it off. And that's fine. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take an accurate measure here. And going to put exactly the amount that came out, which is looks like it's right at 3 quarts. I'll put 3 quarts back in. All right, so because Toyota took the stupid dipstick away, you have to go through this ridiculous procedure to check the fluid, and that's what we're going to do. So I'm going to go ahead and start the truck up. And I have my scan gauge here, and it will tell us the transmission fluid temperature. It's 87 right now. I'm going to shift through the gears, a couple of seconds in between each one. This particular transmission, it has to be between 97 and 115 degrees. Now there is a procedure that you can do. If you'll look in one of the repair manuals about checking the transmission fluid without having something that's looking at the data stream, and it includes doing some funky things with the gear shift to get it to go into transmission fluid check mode. We won't go over that because I'm not going to be doing that. All right, so I'm going to let this sit here. I don't know if you guys can see that, until it reads. When it gets to 97, 98, or 99, we'll go in and check the fluid underneath the truck. All right, as you can see, the transmission fluid temperature is 98 degrees. So let's go underneath the truck and go ahead and do our physical check. All right, so let's look at the temperature. So as you can see, the temperature of the data stream is 98 and it's showing 96. So it's a couple degrees off. So here's the check plug. Let me just go up and make sure once again that we're in range. All right, we are. It is at 100 degrees. Let's do one more check with this. Okay, it's still showing 97 in the middle of the pan, so it's going to be a couple degrees off. I've got my new drain washer ready. So what happens is this will, supposed to let it go till it's a trickle. And also the vehicle needs to be level, which it is. I verified that with the actual bubble level. So that's pretty much where you want it. So I'm gonna go ahead and put this back in. We'll torque this up. This is 15 foot-pounds. Okay. And just check for leaks. I'm going to let this run for a little while, get it hotter, take it for a test drive, and yeah, there we go. All right, so I am back from about a 25-mile test drive, and we have absolutely no leaks whatsoever. The magnifying filter is doing perfect. We have no leaks at the pan, and this thing is shifting smooth as butter. Can I tell a difference in how it shifted before? Maybe just a very slight difference. But, you know, that's probably could be subjective. However, the Amsoil ATF Signature Series transmission fluid is far, far, far better than the world standard Toyota fluid. So it will definitely make this transmission last a lot longer. So we've got Amsoil Signature Series in the engine. We've got it in the steering system. We now have it in the transmission. And the very last thing that we're going to do is we will be putting it into the rear end. We'll be swapping that fluid out, and that'll be a different video. But thank you guys for watching the videos. Hopefully this helped you. This is not a hard job. It'll probably take about an hour and a half, start to finish. It's a little messy, but that's okay. It's done right. Please, please, please do not think that transmission fluid, especially in the quote sealed transmissions, is permanent. It is not permanent. I would go no longer than 30,000 miles on the factory fluid. And if you were towing, I would probably do it at 15. If you take the WS fluid out and put in the Amsoil, well, you could probably go, I'm going to say 50 to 60,000 miles plus. With the addition of the magnifying filter, you'll even have a lot better result, just because any of the small particles that were in the magnets, a lot of that's going to be caught by that filter right there. I'm going to change that annually, and I will probably do this flush procedure in another year again, and then maybe do it every 2 years or so. Anyway, guys, thank you for watching the videos. If it helped you, if you have a different vehicle you've done this to, or maybe you've got the exact same vehicle, just leave a comment below, and I will see you on the next video.